Hi, I'm Allen and welcome to Drawing Podcast Episode 19. So today sobrang interesting ng ating topic dahil yung gusto kong pag-usapan dito yung parang nakikita ko na dati pang traditional art. Talagang nafa-fascinate ako kung paano gawin. Yun yung parang nakikita ko sa mga yung sa Baguio nung bata ako dahil na curious ako paano nila ginagawa yun. Yun yung parang weaving na sinasabi nila. Yun yung form of art na bumubuo ka gamit yung parang mga strands ng para makagawa ng cloth or parang makagawa ng kanilang mga tribal attire, mga ganyan, tribe attire. And part of this is parang yung guest natin is medyo multifaceted yung mga ginagawa niya. Isa rin siyang gumagawa ng poetry na isa sa talagang pag binasa mo yung kanyang poems is natatouch yung emotions mo kasi yung words niya, yung mga word per word pa lang is parang tumatatak sa akin. And plus talaga, yung boses nung ating guest talaga parang pang podcast compared sa akin kasi ang layo. And yung last talaga, medyo sobrang interesting din kasi marunong din siyang magkaroon ng dream interpretation, gumawa ng dream interpretation na. So, yun, tatanong natin kung ano ba talaga yung psychology or science behind din dun sa dreams natin. And so, ito, without further ado, let's all welcome our guest, si G or Gian. Ayun. Gian
Hi! Hello,
Ayun.
Aling Joy. Hello sa mga
Kamusta?
listeners ng Di Na To Drawing podcast.
Long time eh. Di ba parang last natin is sa Meet Space pa, di ba?
Yes,
Yun.
I think that was the Kataga Poetry
Yung
event.
Kataga.
Yun. Oh, last year pa yun ah.
Oo, last year pa.
That was last year.
And
Yun.
kung di nyo na natatanong, yung Kataga is the
Mm.
first ever spoken word poetry NFT show na pinalabas sa gallery. Talagang yun yung pinakauna. Feeling ko
Yeah.
pinakauna eh, no? Wala kasing
I
gumawa
think
pa
it's
nun.
the first ever spoken
Mm-mm.
word NFT exhibit dito sa Philippines. So kaya
Mm-mm.
thank you Meet Space Gallery
Oo,
for
sobrang
hosting us. Si Aling Joy din, you were a part of
ah,
that. Ganda
ah,
ng piece mo. That was the Sims piece, I
The same.
remember.
Hindi, pero yan si G, kasama siya dun sa lineup ng artist.
Yeah.
Ang title nung kanyang piece ay yung Float. Sobrang
Yes.
ang ganda nung ano.
Thank you. Thank you
Ah,
din sa introduction.
mm.
Napakalupit.
Actually, lahat ng
Thank
piece
you, thank you.
dun,
I appreciate it.
actually, lahat ng piece dun maganda. Parang walang tapon yung piece dun sa Kataga. As
Yeah.
in, oo, ang ganda.
And I really appreciated the fact that a shout out din of course sa Titik Poetry kay
Mm,
Berlin that they made a way for this. Na talagang merong setup with the screens and
mm,
the headsets and everything parang interactive talaga siya.
mm. Ayan, sila Harleen, si Harleen yung naging
Yes. Oh,
creator tuloy.
Harleen.
Curator.
Curator. Oh.
Yan. So, ang galing-galing talaga nun. Sana nga maulit na ano, parang yung
Part two,
batch,
ano?
second batch ng spoken word. And
Mm.
yun, bago tayo mag-start, G, magpakilala ka muna sa ating mga listeners.
Naku,
Ayan.
na-introduce mo na ako eh.
Listener.
Sige. So I'm G. I actually have an 8 to 5 job. So I work as a talent acquisition coordinator for a third party hiring, a recruitment firm rather. So ayun, but outside of my 8 to 5, I enjoy the art of knotting, as in Knotting, which is macrame. And then I do weaving then, like what Alan Joy said earlier, that's what I'm really focusing on. Yun, I recently had a few projects on that. And then, yes, I also do a bit of spoken word, and I like writing on the side. Kahit naman that I don't really have something to put out, but I really have a journal with me, so I keep it with me. That's why I just scribble on my journal and write. And then also then now I'm on hiatus, but I play the bass at church.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, so I have a bass at home, which I that's my first bass actually that I bought last year, first owned ever. So kaya yun. yeah, that's a little bit about me. Those things that I enjoy doing.
Ano pala, nagbe-base ka rin pala, Stig na.
Yes.
So ano pala, G, yung nakita ko agad nung dun sa profile mo is yung weaving art na
Yes.
talagang ano siya parang lost traditional art siya kung tutuusin minsan. Kasi parang di na siya ganun ka yung parang kahit saan mo makikita 'di ba? Parang may
Mm,
certain parts of the uh, places na lang na nakikita mo may nagwi-weave eh.
right.
May difference yun 'di ba? Yung knotting and yung weaving.
Yes,
Mm.
yun. So actually, yung specifically, I ventured first into macrame, which is the knotting talaga, the cotton
Macrame
rope.
yung
Macrame, yeah.
ah
So, yun, I recall back in 2016, I have a friend here dito sa Iloilo. Nasa Iloilo pala ako.
ah
I'm based here now, yeah. So, I have a friend here, a shout out kay Ana Jimenez. So, she's really, really good and I really look up to her. And she was the one talaga dito, I think the only then that time that I was doing macrame and she was so good. And she had this like mini workshop, nagpagawa ng plant hangers. I know if you're
mm.
familiar with that, yun, yung mga hinahang yung plants and it's made of cotton rope. So, nagpaturo ako sa kanya. So, I joined that workshop and that was, I think, early 2016 that I learned how to make a plant hanger first time.
Mm.
And then, because like, when you learn the different styles of knotting, you can actually just be free to create. And, kasi we have YouTube naman, we have the internet. There's a whole lot of resource on the internet that you can check out. Yeah, yun. So after that workshop, which I'm very grateful for, yun, I just started doing it on my own and eventually nag-explore ako like doing bigger pieces. And then, no, it's just really cool kasi these plant hangers, you can sell it for like 200,
Mm.
250. And then yung puhunan mo for the ropes is actually if you find like a good shop where you can buy like for bundles lang talaga. Malaki talaga yung bump mo for
Mm.
just
Yung
for,
margin parang ganun, malaki yung
yes,
margin.
yes. So that was really I started out with the plant hangers and then I started experimenting and just creating the bigger pieces hanggang eventually I was able to do pieces for weddings, a
Mm.
few for my friends, ayun, maybe 3 times. Yon I was able to make a wedding arch out of macrame for
Oy, nice. Bale yung
dalawa. Yeah, yeah, go
yung
ahead.
gano'n, yung para yung ginagawa mong sinasabi mong macrame, 'di ba yun?
Macrame, yeah.
Is parang yung iba yung yarn, 'di ba? Hindi siya yung yarn eh, no?
Yeah,
Parang
hindi siya yung yarn. So
oo.
this is really cotton rope. But
Mm.
sa regular na macrame, but if it's you can experiment because you can actually incorporate those like huge yarns into like the modern macro weave nga yung tinatawag nila yun. So it's a mix of both the macrame and the weaving kasi hindi na
Mm.
siya yung standard monotypical because you have this like typical patterns for the macrames. But like if you incorporate the weaving into it, so it's gonna become like a different piece altogether. So
Oy,
depende din
nice.
talaga. Yeah. So what I yung sa ano ko sa side ko when I put out something, gusto ko talaga siya unique. I don't do
Mm,
like
mm.
the
Totoo.
na same. I don't do like two pieces of each or five. I only do one of each. So I remember okay lang
Go,
tuloy-tuloy
go,
ako.
go, 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 go.
I remember during the pandemic, that was the time. So medyo like 2016, medyo hindi siya spotty yung put out ko ng macrame. All these, but nag-pick up talaga siya when during the pandemic when I decided like, oh, I'm gonna roll out pieces, 3 to 5 pieces weekly. Because I had enough time. As it was pandemic naman, the work that I did before, I can like do it at home. Although I would go to the because Makati pa yon, we would go to the office every now and then. But so I have so much time on my lap na I was able to roll out pieces weekly. And so I would make like parang may theme lang siya every week. Pero grabe din talaga, thank God, like it gets sold out. Like when I post
Oh,
it, like
wow.
out. Of course, like word of mouth, you have friends
Mm.
and all. And but I do get commissions then
Mm.
they would ask like, this kind of like colors or themes like that. But they I really appreciate people who who say na like, oh, I give you the creative freedom to do with what you
Mm.
want sa piece na to. Like, this is just the theme, but just like, go crazy with it.
Mm.
So, ayun.
Ang ano, yun ba yung sa ano, yung parang yung Manos Philippines, yun yung mga
Yes.
pieces mo?
That's like
Mm.
my baby brand.
Nice.
But it's more of like, some people say, like, yeah, I consider it as a business, but it's
Mm.
more of like also then this part, it's like a passion project for
Mm.
me as well. Because like the macrame has really helped me, in a sense, like to really slow down.
Mm.
Just taught me to be patient with myself. Because every time I work on something, I slow down. And it's very therapeutic, especially
Mm.
if it
Totoo.
doesn't stress me out. And as if I'm stressed, I would rather do a weaving or do something like that, even if it looks complicated, but it's actually
Mm.
not if you know how to do it. So it de-stresses me at some point, and then I would just listen to music or listen to some podcast, and
Mm.
tuloy-tuloy lang yung paggawa. Kaya yun.
So pag ganun ba, parang kailangan ba pulido ka sa kasi parang yung sa sewing class nung dati nung
Yeah.
nagkaroon, hindi talaga ako ano yung pangit ng tahi ko eh. Parang
That's
yung pag ganun ba compared dun sa ganun talagang dapat precision talaga yung ginagawa.
Yes, I
Ah.
had to learn that, of course, when I was
Mm.
still learning it in the beginning. Hanggang naman ngayon, I would do a macrame piece. The
Mm.
thing about it is the tension ng
Mm.
rope. Kasi if you pull it tighter, like pag you close the knot off, of course, like yung magka-crumple siya. And so,
Mm.
but then slowly you would like, if you go like sa sisimula ka ng piece and then you go halfway and then you stop and then you pause and you look at what you've made or where you want it to go. So makikita mo naman. Pero the
Mm.
thing about it is if like, kasi if OC ka, and
Oo.
if you're looking at that and like, oh my God, I missed this knot, or there are certain times that I would really untie it all. Kasi it's
So ulitin mo siya
because
over.
you've knotted it. Naka-knot
Mm.
na siya. So there are different kinds of knots, but of course because it's a knot, when you see like something's amiss in a certain part, you would have to go back to it
Mm.
and and do it
Grabe, oo.
again. So yun lang yung yung I think the siguro the challenging part is unknotting it when you see something wrong and you want to really na talagang, oh, okay, ang pangit talagang tingnan, it's noticeable, it's I can't get away with it.
Oo.
So you have to really go back and unknot it. Yeah.
Actually, nung looking at your pieces, talagang every piece siya, iba-iba yung treatment mo eh. Nakikita ko parang yung iba may parang nature or parang may
Yeah.
colors. Yung iba parang intricate design. Talagang
Yes.
yung nakikita ko talaga na yung binibenta sa ibang bansa na maganda na ganun yung ano. Oo.
Thank you.
Yung isang favorite ko yung Brave eh. Kasi medyo parang sobrang
Ah,
complicated nung pagka-knot niya
yeah.
na pag tinignan mo pa lang, pag nakita mo sa bahay mo, parang ganda tignan.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm.
So some of those, yeah, so yung sabi ko kanina na when I roll out pieces, yeah. So medyo tematica, I had like pieces for a certain week na black and white. So I said like,
Mm.
okay, I'm going to like, para siyang in a sense like you're also challenging yourself na,
Oo.
okay, this week I want to do black and white. This week I want to go like with bright colors. And then, but also, of course, like tina-timing mo din because I have to order the ropes ahead of
Mm.
time. I have to know what I want to put out for this certain week. Kaya you order the ropes and then when it gets to you, then you start doing it.
Mm.
Kaya ayun. So it's a bit of mix and match. But ayun, there's also a week na puro commissions lang.
Oo.
And I think siguro the challenge for those that create or like especially if these kinds of wall hangings or a very ano tawag dito, not the NFTs of course, like things that are like handmade stuff, especially the handmade stuff.
Oo.
There's always that thing na hindi mo alam kung paano mo siya ipepresyo because I had that
Oo, di ba?
struggle in the beginning when I was still starting out na kahit naman hanggang ngayon like okay siguro pang kaibigan na pressure, I don't know how to. I had this just recent commission, a friend from Singapore like commissioned me to do like that a triptych weaving. So it
Mm.
was the three biggest pieces that I recently made so far for weaving. So initially I didn't know how to price that, but okay, I had a certain amount in my mind. But
Mm.
when I when I asked some of my friends in Singapore, Not Singaporean then. And they were like, oh, okay. Medyo mababa yung benta mo sa kanya.
Oh.
So, they were expecting that I would
Ah.
like, price it higher.
Mm.
So siguro yun, is sinasabi ko na there's always that challenge, like how to price it.
Oo. Tsaka talagang pagka-starting talaga, lalo pagka hindi mo alam yung, kunwari,
Yeah.
industry or yung kung ano yung nagre-revolve dun, ang hirap i-price talaga. Yung, di mo alam kung sa artistry, sa materials, sa ano.
Yes,
Di ba? Parang,
exactly.
dami mo i-consider. Tapos,
Oo.
may hiya ka kasi, syempre, lalo kung starting, if ever, hindi mo pa alam kung worth it yung price dun sa gawa mo or parang,
Exactly.
oo, 'di ba?
Yeah.
Parang dami mong isipin.
Yun.
Ayun.
And yeah, definitely that's a factor. Factor then if we would consider like your raw materials.
Mm.
But for handmade, of course, they're paying for your time and your skill.
Totoo.
Yeah, that's the time and the skill that you put into it. At ayun, of course, in the beginning, you would, yes, tama yan, look at the market, check and see if, parang then like you're judging yourself in a way. You're second guessing yourself na like, worth it ba to na if I price it like that? But there
Mm.
are times, no, honestly, na when I put a certain price and people would actually pay higher for it.
Oh,
Na
nice.
nagugulat na lang ako, yeah, that they would pay higher for that. Even yato yung sa ano, this recent one that I was telling you about, yung Singaporean na client, she paid an extra
Oh,
for
nice.
that, even if I didn't ask for it. Yeah.
Ito ba yung parang may colors na, yung recent
Yeah, yung
post mo?
latest.
Oo,
Yeah,
yan
yung
na. Ang ganda
latest
rin
post.
nun. Grabe yun.
Yun. And yung parang ano, that's the so far the biggest weaving. Kasi
Mm.
tatlo siya, and then it's like 20 yung length, and then 18 yung 20 yung width pala, then 18.
Usually, ilang oras mo siya ginagawa per piece? Yung depende, kunwari yung pinakamaliit. Pag ganun.
So siguro it's between 2 to 3 days. Pero one to
Oh,
two
wow.
days, if
Hmm.
actually maano na yan, that's max. If I usually when I have like when I'm doing a piece, kasi I'm working. I have this like 8 to 5. So when my pag may downtime ako sa work, and then if it's just chill at work, I can still do it. Kasi
Mm.
maliit lang naman siya, the small pieces that I do, they're just small. So yung loom, shout out pala sa kay Miss Judith sa Art of Yarn. That is where I bought my first loom from her. She's doing like weaving workshops in
Mm.
Manila and all across. So doon ko nakita sa Instagram that she weaves so well. She has a lot of like good projects. And so ayun. So ayun siguro like 2 to 3 days if wala ka talaga akong time, but 1 to 2 days lang if I put everything in it. Yeah.
Nice. So
Consistent naman.
talagang ano din siya, no, talagang yung time mo talaga din yung puhunan din sa ganitong arte, no? Talagang
Yeah.
tututukan mo siya ng kailangan ganun talaga yung precision, tapos yung consistency din ng pagkakagawa mo, ganun. Natuwa
The
din
thing,
ako dito sa, ay sorry.
yeah, go ahead. Sige, go
Yung
ahead
natuwa
lang.
ako doon sa kada pieces mo, may mga parang descriptions.
Yeah.
Mostly, ano siya parang about godly, ano eh.
Yes, yes.
And nakakatuwa kasi parang, ito yung maganda sa arte, yung parang kaya mo i-connect yung kung ano
Right.
yung nararamdaman mo or kung ano yung gusto mong iparating doon sa ginawa mong art, yung piece mo na i-connect mo doon sa part of parang verses or yung parang
Yes.
realizations, yun. Ang ganda
Yun.
nun.
Yeah, thank you. So that's the thing. Yeah, I agree with what you said. Kasi for these are pieces kasi na like for handmade stuff, and for of course for artworks like these na tangible siya.
Mm.
So it's like my intention always is like if there's a certain message that you want to put out, or if it's commissioned,
Mm.
parang that piece mismo will be like that tangible version of that message. So like every time that they look at it or they hang it on their wall, so parang it's a reminder. It's that tangible reminder na like, oh, okay,
Mm.
this piece reminds me of that certain reflection that I had, or
Mm.
something that means to me. So parang ganon. So it somehow like it comes alive. Parang
Mm.
ganon, that piece. Like, so that's what makes it meaningful.
Isa pa yung favorite ko, yung inheritance, eh, yung nilagay mo sa foundation. Yung ginawa mong
Okay.
NFT piece din.
Yeah. Alam
na
mo,
oo.
it's that parang it's of course like it's still there because it's not
Oo.
it yeah, it's not yet wala pang bumibili. But parang it's like like when the first NFT that you put out, like it's so precious, like you don't want to
Oo,
burn
'di
it.
ba?
Nandun lang siya, just please make your
Oo.
home in foundation.
Yung parang ano, eh, yan yung parang sinabi din ni Angelica na parang 'pag gustong-gusto mo, ayaw mo siyang mabenta.
Yeah.
Kasi sobrang special sa'yo, eh, na yun yung first piece mo parang,
Yeah.
wag niyo kunin mo na."
Of
Parang
course, like in my mind, like I want it to be sold, definitely,
oo.
but it's like okay, nandun lang siya. And that piece actually, ano din, it's my first spoken word, and then
Oo.
spoken word NFT piece. Plus, I made a weaving for that na may AR. So, shout out din kay Tito Jobs, of
Oo.
course, sa ating cap, who really helped me with that. And with just with the whole NFT process. And I'm really grateful. Di ko akalain that I would actually get into NFTs.
Totoo. Tas parang first ano yun, eh, parang yun yung una kong nakitang weaving art na ginawang NFT. Ewan ko, siguro sa ano lang natin, sa circle. Pero feeling ko isa yun sa una, eh. Parang wala pa halos
Mm,
gumagawa, eh. And
so
yun,
that it
yun nga, maganda yung ginawa mo and in-incorporate mo pa siya ng spoken word na
Yeah, thank you. Ayun, yeah. So it was tricky kasi of course nagsisimula ka, you don't know how to mint,
mm.
you don't know how to. So parang gumawa ka lang talaga ng okay, you do separate pieces, you do the spoken word, then the weaving of course took longer.
Mm.
So ayun, and then overlay mo. But Tito Jobs really helped me with
Mm.
all of that. Hanggang sa minting process na tinulungan talaga ako. So,
Yun. And
ayun.
yung favorite line ko dun yung you kept showing up, eh. Parang,
Yeah.
bakit pala inheritance yung yung
So
naging
it's
title?
I think like in my description there, if you go to foundation, I think I wrote there if I'm not forgetting na it's actually the piece is actually like a letter that I wrote to myself.
Mm.
But so most of the pieces that I write are actually reflective. So it's gleaned from the journey that my personal journey. So ayun, it's actually based on a scripture, Psalm 16. But that's like one of my favorite psalms. But also like in this specific piece talaga, it's basically just a reminder na our journeys are not linear, or
Mm.
sometimes like it gets really tough. But um there's that the thing that at the end of the day, if you keep showing up, if you don't give up, there's
Totoo.
always there's really a light at the end of the tunnel. It's easier said than done, but there's there's so many things there's so many factors that can really help pull you through it. There are people around you that you can glean wisdom from, definitely. And if you just keep showing, if you don't give up, you win. Yun lang yun eh. If you don't give up, you win. It's easier said than done, but one day at a time. One day at a time.
Yun. Actually, kung yun sa mga listeners, please do check out yung piece niya. Kasi kahit pakinggan nyo yung piece, ang ganda. Kasi parang self-validation siya na
Yes, yeah.
parang daily life struggles na andun ka pa rin, you kept showing up.
Yeah.
Even may circumstances na talagang hindi umayon sa'yo, andun pa
Mm,
rin, you kept showing up. And yun talaga yung
yeah.
naglinger sa akin nun. Kaya ang ganda nung kung ano talaga, gusto ko lang din talagang kunin yun. If ever. Pero talaga, ang ganda nun, ang ganda.
Thank you, Aling Joy.
Mm.
Yeah, and it's self-validating.
Mm.
It's definitely self-encouraging kind of thing.
Mm.
Yun yung sinasabi din na like if you can there, because there will really be moments in our lives which gets really yung tinatawag ko yan na dark night of the soul. It gets really, lonely. It gets like you feel like you're really alone, you know. And yung it's like if you just parang kung ano lang yung step na makikita mo in front of you, it's just like that, like take that step and then take another step, like one step at a time talaga siya, one day at a time talaga siya.
Mm.
It's so Ayun, it's beyond that, of course, like because if you feel like there's really no one and it's really hard, you can just really encourage yourself. So you
Mm.
have to be intentional to speak words of encouragement to yourself every day if you need to.
Mm. Oh, so in the line of ano pala, poetry topic, mga spoken
Mm,
word topic.
yeah.
Kailan ka nag-start nun? Kasi parang yung
Mm.
nung pumasok ka para ang galing mo. Galing-galing ka ano kami lagi parang sa Twitter space pa lang nag-sample ka ng piece or parang sabi ko grabe, ang gagaling naman ng tao dito sa Twitter space. Sabi ko, ayun, kailan ka ba na-encourage to
So,
pursue ganun?
yeah, okay. So dito sa Iloilo, um back ano pa, that was I think circa 2013. I think 2013, 2000. Parang naghahalata tayo ng
Wala
ng
namang
age natin
judgment
na
dito. Pare-pares
2000.
tayo 22
No, I
years old
think
lang.
back 2012, 2013. I have a few friends here who was really already into spoken word and poetry. So there was that season that we would share with each other yung mga nasusulat namin na poem. And then this interesting, I think it was 2013. Okay, my Iloilo friends would correct me if I'm wrong. Or 2014, there's a cafe here in Iloilo. Ngayon wala na. We're so sad that it had to close. It's called Fuel.
Dahil ba sa
Fuel.ph.
pandemic? Dahil sila nagsara or dati pa siya?
No, that was still ano pa to. I'm talking about the
Ah, ah.
circa 2013, 2014 circa. So matagal na. No, ano na talaga. Even before the pandemic, they already closed. So
Mm.
I'm not sure 2016, 17, I forgot. But that time, they were I think the first ever cafe dito sa Iloilo who opened their cafes on weekends for open mic nights. So there would be that would be the venue for creatives in the city to just come there, like do their songs, perform their songs. People would come to the stage and perform their spoken word. So doon ako na talagang like, okay, that this is a cool like a community activity, and like okay, there it's a cafe and people are eating, people are drinking coffee, but also you know people get to be expressive in terms of their creative outputs. Malabas yung mga poetry. So doon, I a few times, of course, like kasi medyo ano pa, na a few times na like I would perform like a piece. But that was the time na talagang na strengthen din sa within my friends here na like we would share with each other poems that we wrote. And I had a Tumblr then, which I already deleted this year. Doon ko sa Tumblr sinusulat, nilalagay
Tumblr
yung mga
era yun, di ba? Yung parang,
Tumblr era yon. Sinusulat yung mga poems ko and like just, reflections.
actually,
Yeah.
madaming poet sa Tumblr noon. May mga fina-follow ako
Uh,
nun dati. Ang galing din nun eh.
Oh, you can then actually I gleaned a lot of inspiration din doon because there were a lot of like, 'di ba, like you would see pictures then I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, may work. Ngayon then of course you would see it on Instagram. But I don't know, Tumblr is a different thing.
Iba na yata ngayon ng Tumblr. Hindi ko na siya na-visit eh. Para ibang, ibang world na siya eh. Hindi na siya
Oh,
tulad
ibang
dati.
world na siya. Oo. It's very liberated.
Ah, iba na
Quote
siya.
unquote.
Iba na siya. Hindi na siya
I
tulad
deleted
dati.
it. Oh.
Parang safe space ko yung Tumblr dati kasi din eh. Parang more
Oh,
on art
yes.
or
Okay.
more on
Yeah.
poetry.
Correct.
Ganun, ganun siya.
Ah.
Quotes, ganyan.
Parang yes, safe space nga siya. Then.
Ah, hindi ko alam
Kaya,
nangyari din eh.
ayun. So, and continuing lang so wala na, like after that, no, it wasn't really so much about really performing or telling people about your stuff. It's more siguro that I gained traction for enjoying writing and just like scribbling stuff. And of course, I think for me, reading, because I enjoy reading on the side.
Hmm.
I really do. So ayun, it helped then, of course, with what you write, like when you have a lot of reading inspiration.
So yung mga binabasa mo nun, mga fiction or poetry books,
Fiction talaga,
fiction.
fiction. Yeah.
Mas kasi ang fiction eh. Mas, kasi nandito ka na nga sa real world, tapos babasa ka ulit ng non-fiction. Minsan ganun ako eh. Parang mas gusto ko
Yeah.
fiction kaysa non-fiction kasi wala eh. Alam, parang kaya ko naman i-google, joke lang. Pag, pag fiction kasi parang napupunta ka sa ibang world eh, compared
Mm.
sa non-fiction.
Nasa-stretch talaga, nasa-stretch yung imagination mo.
So, nagbabasa ka din ng mga poetry books, like yung mga naging mainstream nung, ano, like Langleaf or mga
Okay.
ganon, hindi?
Honestly, no.
Oo.
So I haven't picked up, sorry sa
Mm.
mga Langleaf fans, I haven't picked up any Langleaf books at all. So, now I'm currently reading. It's as slow. I just picked it up. Yung kay Rainer Marie Rilke.
Mm.
So he's an Austrian poet. So I'm reading letters to a young poet.
Ano kasi yun
And
eh,
yeah.
parang nag-trend yung parang ganong books na, yung mga
Oh,
poetry books na, yung mga maikli lang.
yes, yes. Yeah, I
Actually,
remember.
nabash nga sila.
Talaga?
Kasi may, di ba yung mga diehard, ano, yung mga
Ah,
purist din. Syempre, ang poetry sa kanila, medyo,
right, right.
medyo mahaba-haba na, ano.
Oo.
Parang, sayang papel. Mga Tapos
Yeah.
ganun lang, isang page, parang ilang lines,
Oo.
4
But the
lines, 3
books can go
lines, di ba?
expensive then, but
Oo.
but it's meaningful din naman. But I think
Oo,
it
oo.
it, it depends, like
It
for
depends nga.
per person. Yeah.
Actually, isa lang nabasa kong long live, tapos puro Michael Faudet, Rupi. Hindi ko masyado natapos. Yung iba-ibang poetry books na ano. Kasi parang ang ganda lang din yung
Mm.
pang-relax ba? Parang,
Yeah.
kasi easy read siya eh. Parang
Right.
ilang lines
Correct.
lang eh. Pero, nagigets ko yung point nung mga, yung nambabash kasi parang, siguro yun yung kinalakihan nilang ano, parang version of
Mm.
poetry, tapos biglang nakakita sila ng ganun. Syempre mas engaging siya sa, lalo sa kabataan nung time natin. Kasi parang ano siya easy read talaga eh. Mas
Yes,
madaling
correct.
mag-express
Meron
compared
talagang ano
dati, di
no,
ba?
there was
Mm.
that time talaga that it went mainstream. Yan nga
Mm.
yung sinasabi.
Nung ano, parang nung pumupunta ako sa Fully Book, laging may mga ganun, puro poetry books na eh.
Yeah, correct.
Kaya nakatuwa din. Sabi ko nakatuwa, pero somehow yung ibang ano kasi, ewan ko, minsan, ayoko mabash tuloy. Pero somehow kasi yung iba dun na ano, ewan ko, baka hindi ko lang na-interpret ng maayos, or yung sa lalim, or parang ganun. Usually kasi
Mm.
more on parang conversational yung piece nila, hindi
Mm.
siya yung ano eh.
Yeah.
Siguro, ibang form of poetry siya. So, hindi ko sinasabing pangit, parang more on conversational piece.
Mm.
So, baka
Yeah.
hindi na-appreciate nung ibang nagpo-poetry na yung
Right.
nakasanayan nila. So, kanya-kanyang ano lang din yan eh. Timeline or yung parang
Correct.
trend, di ba? Yan. And, tawag dito, pag gumagawa ka ba ng poetry, saan
Mhm.
ka humuhugot ng topics or yung subjects, ganyan?
I think mostly is just my personal reflection on things. It's
Mm.
like I know I've written a few na like I've written one about NFTs
Ah.
actually. I'm not sure I performed it one time sa isang space, I forgot. Parang ganon. But I think it's more of like what probably siguro no I would want to stick to that na the poems that I mint or that I put out as NFTs would be something na talagang out of my own personal reflections because these are things that are real to me. These are my truth.
Mm.
And also like it's like parang I mean I don't want to sound mushy about it, but parang it's like you're opening like that portion of your journey, a part of that, your truth and sharing it to people and hoping that they too would glean something from it as like I'm not to impose anything but it's like this is my truth. This is what I've learned,
Mm.
and I hope that you can glean something from it for whatever um you can reflect on it, you can think about it, and like when I put that out, my hope is that they would do reflect on their own personal journey.
Mm.
Parang yun. So, yun lang talaga yung hugot ko. It's mostly my own personal reflection. And the things, of course, that I'm also curious about. The things that usually kasi like, right, like
Mm.
when you're curious about things, you try to look up on the internet about it or research about it and you write your own notes about it and what your own like little opinions surrounding that topic. So, yun lang. Parang ganun.
Pag ikaw ba, pag nagsusulat ka, depende sa ano, parang in the zone or parang pipilitin mo sarili
Mm.
mo? Ganun
No,
ka
no, I
ba?
don't. I don't like forcing myself.
Oo.
Unless there's a deadline na like
Oo.
talaga, okay, crunch time, or like for example, it's a collaboration na like, I remember my collab with Alchemist, and
Ah,
it
ang
wasn't
ganda nun.
it wasn't yeah, and Keys KD
Kiss Kid,
ni
oo.
ano, ni so hindi siya, it wasn't, it's yes, there was a deadline, but I already have something that I know. It's
Mm.
like, because if you keep, let's say, you keep a journal or you keep writing,
Mm.
parang not necessarily that you already have pieces. It's like you pick up something from different kinds of what you wrote, and then you put it together, or you have something that like, oh, okay, this matches with the theme that they want, and like you try to refine it lang.
Mm.
Parang ganon. So it's I don't I love to be in the zone, but mostly it's just really me sitting in a coffee shop, having
Oo,
my own, quiet time,
totoo yun.
drinking good coffee, and having my own peace and quiet. So that's good enough for me. Then I can write. Yun.
Actually, ano eh, sa akin nun, may time talaga nung parang may pinagdadaan. Yun yung
Mm.
talagang sunod-sunod na ano eh. Doon ka makapagsulat eh. And mostly,
Yes, that's true.
sobrang gabi, sobrang late.
Uh,
Pero nung meron din time, parang gagawin ko is long walks muna. Tapos,
right, right.
para to stimulate lang yung siguro yung sa, yung
Mm.
parang happy hormones or ganyan.
Correct, correct.
Yun, doon
Tama
din ako
yan.
nakakapagsulat pag ganun. Depende sa ganong style din minsan. Tas mostly
Uh,
haikus eh. Yun yung favorite ko dati.
Ay,
Haikus
yeah.
talaga.
Ano pa tayo eh, nag-typed art, ano pa eh.
All
I think
type
I
art.
bought some of
Oo.
your,
Actually, yun nga, kung sa listeners, pwede nyo nang i-mint yung poems nyo or kahit anong words, pwede mo i-mint na. So, pwede mo na
yes.
siyang gawing NFT. Kaya, katuwa din lahat. Ginawa na siya ng parang footprint or parang provenance sa
Mm,
yung part of art mo, part of yourself sa blockchain.
correct.
Ando na sila. And ito
And I
nga,
would,
sige, go, go,
yeah,
go.
that's okay. Yeah, just echoing on what you said, na I would agree with na like usually may pinagdadaanan ka.
Ah,
That's where the words come out. Yung sinabi nila na like out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So whatever
oh,
it is that you have, like so much, like what are you mostly thinking about? What are you meditating on? What are you going through? You try to put it into words, and then something really come out of it. Either it be just like plain raw emotion, or something that you would really refine, and it's something like a piece talaga. So sometimes it's crazy because let's say you're at the height of a very quote unquote big emotion, and you write, I'm sure you've experienced this, and you write all of your feelings, big
mm.
feelings. Kaya ano lang, sulat ka na ng sulat. And then pag nag-die down na yung emotions mo, balikan mo yung sinulat mo. And like, you would just magugulat ka talaga na like, oh my
Oo.
God, this is how bad it is.
Nagki-cringe ka. Parang that time,
Exactly.
parang ang ganda nito Ang sarap isulat.
Yes, exactly.
Pagkabalikan mo ang
Pagbalikan
pangit.
mo, oh my God, scrap.
Ang pangit pala, ganun, di ba? May mga ganun eh. And ito nga yung kaninang pinag-uusapan natin, yung
Mm,
nagkaroon ng spoken word poetry NFT
mm.
sa isang gallery na
Yeah.
showcase yung mga spoken word artist. And nandun yung isang piece ni Gina, Float. And sobrang ang
Mm.
ganda nun. May mga... Actually, sinulat ko yun ngayon eh. Yung parang yung line na parang...
Mm.
Then I noticed hands stretched towards me.
Yeah.
Yan. At first, it was blurry. Pangit ng boses
Yeah.
ko, sorry. Pagka sa kanya, ang ganda ng delivery niya.
Hindi, go lang.
Pero yun, I couldn't see, then slowly I began to reach back out of curiosity.
Yeah.
What was this hand that kept reaching out? Tapos yung tatlong lines, ang ganda nun. Sabi ko, grabe. Ano yung inspiration behind dun sa float pala? Kahit
Yeah. So,
mabilis lang na.
okay. So the float actually was also like a reflection of that specific time then in my life. 2021, I think, or 2000, yeah, 2020 pala. Ano, 2021, tama. Now, I was really I got really depressed. My mental health was declining. And I mean, not a lot of people know this because like they would always see na like, oh, okay, parang okay naman siya.
Mm.
But like, you're that, there are people who are like that, and sometimes like that, I tend to keep it to myself, or I only share with people that I really trust, like how I really feel. Pero yun, that season was like really too much, and I think like that was birthed out from that season, and I think that I mentioned the hands there because for me, I don't want to get really touchy about it, but it's of course those hands, like there was really so much grace lang siguro sa akin that time, and I'm so grateful then of course sa Panginoon that he really pulled me out of that. But either way, like those hands could represent the people that have
Mm.
surrounded me, like good friends, life friends that have been there, that have spoken words of encouragement. So it's kind of like when you're in that place now, when you're in that quote unquote dark night of the soul, and it's really really difficult, that it's really a difficult time, there are hands that sometimes it looks blurry, but they're really hands that will reach out to you. So it's kind of like it's up to you if you would reach back and hold, or you would not. So the choice is yours. But I'm pretty sure, like even if a person is in that state, there will always be someone, kahit isa lang, that will reach out.
Nice.
So ayun, I think that's something na totoo talaga yan, like no man is an island,
Mm.
and I think that's the power of community, and having friends, or good friends, or kahit like a good great friend,
Mm.
like to really be there to support you, encourage you, just to be there. Ayun. So that's probably like the whole ano lang of float. So,
Hindi, ang
and
ganda
shout out
nun.
to Knock.
Oh, shout
Knock
out
really
kay
did the
Nock.
graphics. I so thankful for Nocky for doing that.
Ang ganda nung art din. Sobrang ganda nung art. Kasi, talagang saktong-sakto dun sa sa words nung ano, ang galing nung animation niya. Ang galing.
Yeah.
Ibang classes talaga yun.
Ay, kakaiba talaga si
Ah,
Nocturnal.
ah, ibang klaseng tao din
Pretty
yun.
good. Mm,
Di, pero ang ganda nung sinabi mo na talagang there is someone talaga na
yeah.
kahit sino yan or kahit ano, kahit ilan yan or isa or
Yeah.
there is someone talaga na would reach out. Ang galing, ang
Right.
ganda nun. Sobrang ano na, sobrang validating sa
Yeah.
sarili din talaga. Yun nga yung story nung ano ko, eto pala, yung tattoo
Oh,
ko.
okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yung parang, ano kasi siya parang, yung meaning kasi nito, yung braille, yung always,
Ah.
yun yung parang,
Oh.
yun din yung pang ano ko sa mental health kasi yun nga yung parang
Mm.
naramdaman ko parang mag-isa ako, ganyan. And
Mm.
kala ko walang makaintindi. Para, yun nga, yung
Mm.
sabi ko sa always, yun parang kahit sino or kahit
Yeah.
sino man. Tapos ang ganda, kasi kahit kaya braille siya, kahit di mo siya
Right.
nakikita or ano, meron at meron. Yung sabi
Right.
ko, parang meron at
Ang ganda,
meron.
ang galing.
Oo, kaya ginawa ko siyang braille din.
Pati dapat talaga like you have to be very specific. Galing talaga dapat ng tattoo artist mo. Like to be able to.
Oo. Actually,
Galing
kinuha ko
niya.
itong design. Parang sabi ko, okay ito.
Yeah.
Ayoko kasi yung word lang. Ang pangit. Sabi ko, ang
Right.
jejemon ko pagka.
Oo.
Gusto ko medyo artsy. And medyo
Okay,
may
tama naman.
meaning. May
Tapos
meaning yung
bigla ko
ano.
tinignan yung tattoo ko na words.
Yeah. Oh, hindi. No hate naman sa ano. Parang sa
Oo.
preference ko lang. No?
Right. Pero ang ganda yung tattoo.
Oo.
Like, for real.
Ayan. And ano na. Tapos doon na tayo sa ano. Sa mga dreams. Ayan. And
Buksan
talagang,
natin yung pintuan.
oh, parang, ito kasi sa dreams is, talagang part siya ng, may ano ka ba doon, science behind doon, bakit na nanaginip yung tao? Or hindi mo na tinakal yun, about ano ka na? Yung parang,
Okay.
mm,
Of course, like for sure, there's definitely a science because we know that yung sinasabi nila na everybody dreams, right? It's just that not everybody remembers it when they wake up. But I think like siguro I would say yung sinabi ko sa'yo kanina, I'm not like an expert
mm,
and when it comes to this. It's more like really based on personal experience. I think I remember and like a good friend of mine um years ago, sinabi niya sa akin na like, oh, nananaginip ka. I write all of my dreams in a notebook or in a
mm,
journal. Like every time she dreams, she writes it down. So parang ako, parang, oh, okay. Parang naano ako because I was that was like back 2013. Like I was
Mm.
already like start like meron may dreams every now and then. But and even nung bata pa ako, I would have like I would especially okay, sorry. But yeah,
Go lang, go lang.
kasi naalala ko. But the dreams that I had, I remember when I was in elementary and high school, going through early college, they were very oppressive.
No.
Like these kinds of dreams na like, alam mo yon, yung mga like you wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning
Oo.
and then, di ka makagalaw. All these like clearly these are oppressive. I have one experience where, okay lang ba? Like we
Oh,
still have time,
go
right?
lang, go lang,
Yeah,
go.
like I have this like one experience na I woke up and then suddenly may nagsasakal na sa akin ng blanket. And
Mm.
then locally was like, yeah, may ganong, and it's not even, it's like half awake, half asleep, and you think you're awake, but at the same time you're still dreaming, but it feels so real. Yung mga ganon.
Mm.
And then eventually nawala din naman, nag-transition, nawala sila. But
Mm.
2000, I remember 2013 when the dreams were getting better, I
Mm.
guess. That was time again. I started writing it down. So because that was a good advice from my friend, and ever since then I just kept writing it. I think I really became faithful in writing it down mga 2016. So I have in my notes, like I still know how many dreams I've had.
Oh,
2016.
nice.
As far as I can remember.
Oo.
So I asa nga to, yeah. And I'll try to send you a screenshot of what like those notes look like. But yun, so until today, I still keep a journal. What helps kasi, if it's like what I said, not necessarily like all of our dreams. Every time you dream, immediately may meaning.
Oo.
You would go crazy if lagyan mo ng meaning. You would
Kada dream
overthink
no?
dream that you had. Like yung sinabi ko kanina, like if you dreamt of a pizza, doesn't mean like, wow, okay, I will start a pizza joint, or or something. Baka lang kasi kumain ka ng pizza kahapon and it
Oo.
stayed in your subconscious. So may mga ganun lang na we don't have to interpret every single dream that we have. S- Uh, it depends on the context, but
Mm.
also like ayan, I sent you sa Twitter
Ah, sige.
screenshot.
Check ko.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, so ayun, it's contextual. It depends. Like on did you receive it? Yeah.
Dami. So,
So
ano talaga
so pag
to?
nakita mo yung 2016 hanggang 2023, those are
Mm.
every single time I write it down. So those are the number of
Wow.
dreams. So I'm not saying that like if you're a dreamer you have to do it. It's up to
Oo.
you. It's just it helps me track down my dreams because
Mm.
there are times that I wouldn't dream about. There are times, of course, like you dream of other people, you dream of certain things.
Mm.
And my number one rule is that if I dream of someone, if someone appears in my dream na clearly talaga like there's a message to it, or
Mm.
I don't tell them first. I don't tell them first.
Mm.
I and I don't post it on Facebook. I don't tweet about it.
Oo.
I don't put it out on social media because for me, okay, I may use the word sacred, but
Mm.
it's very like a personal thing. Like Lee said, that's why the stewardship things come. The stewardship aspect comes in because like when you get
Mm.
these kinds of things, especially if you know that there's a meaning to it, and when you dream of someone, it's like you have to sit on it.
Mm.
Sometimes like it's either like there's really a message, and I ask talaga like, okay, is it wise to tell the person
Oo.
now, right? You have to ask those kinds of questions because sometimes I remember na I've had this dream of one person, and I know that it's not time to tell the person. Tinabi ko sa kanya like a year later. Imagine sitting on that dream for a year.
Mm.
Because of course, because I wrote it down, so I remember what it was. So that's why that's the importance of writing it down.
Mm.
So you can go back to it. So and then the time that I told the dream to this person, that's the only time that it made sense.
Oh.
If I told it like a year before, it won't make sense to that person. So
Mm.
parang there's a certain timing.
Mm.
But of course, I don't want to confuse like people who are listening. This is contextual. Like I'm not
Mm.
saying if it's of course like, oh, if it's like you dreamt of your dad na namatay, syempre you
Oo.
don't tell them like ano. It's more of like, oh, you don't tell them what, sometimes it's in the wording. You don't tell
Mm.
them like verbatim what the dream was. Usually, like when I dream of somebody, I can ask like, hey, kumusta na? Like you just check on the person. How are
Totoo.
you doing? You don't tell them outright na like, oh, I dreamt of you na namanggaan ka ng kotse. That's
Oo,
gonna freak them
grabe.
out.
Mm.
No? Well, maybe it depends. Depends then also like your level of relationship with this person. You
Mm.
just don't like message them. Di kayo napapansinan 5 years na. Tapos, di ba?
Biglang
So,
sabihin mo ganun.
so, but I guess that's what I meant. Na like it depends. If these are
Oo.
like your closest friends, you can immediately do that. So it
Mm.
depends on the relationship. It depends what the context of the dream is.
Mm.
So I think it's better to just to sit on it first,
Mm.
reflect on it, and be wise about it before saying it.
Totoo
Yeah.
yun. And ano, yung nakwento mo nga nung una, yung parang sleep paralysis yung
Yes.
nararanasan mo, no?
Uh,
And nagkaroon din ako noon. Then nung kwento ko kay
mm,
Angelica, kilala niya yung ano,
oh,
medyo
okay.
creep, medyo paranormal shit na yung ano eh.
Mm,
Yung
yeah.
sinabi niya sa akin eh. So kilala niya yung nakita ko noon.
Oh, okay.
So yun, isa din yun sa tatanong ko siya eh. Parang sa next siguro
Mm,
na sessions
mm,
na may ganun siyang ano eh, parang ability din si Angelica
mm,
about sa mga nakikita or something. And
mm.
yun nga, parang ang weird din nun eh, yung sa sleep paralysis talaga hindi ka
Yeah.
makagalaw. Yung parang
Mm,
moment and panic din kasi yun eh. Parang
right. And
hirap
then
din
sometimes
huminga
like
eh,
you
di
try
ba?
to scream. Yeah. You
Oo.
try to scream tapos walang lumalabas.
Oo. Kaya yun, isa din yun sa tatanong ko sa kanya. And
Mm.
yun, nakatakot yun nung nalaman ko yung kilala niya pala yun.
Oh my God.
Oo, may ganun siya. So, saka siguro pagka next tatanong
Oo.
ko sa kanya yung ganun. And yun nga yung
Yeah.
sabi mong sinusulat yung dreams. Dati nagsusulat din ako.
Ah, okay.
Kasi hindi lahat ng dreams kunwari pagkagising mo, kaya parang kanina lang. Kunwari
Yes.
na naginip
Correct.
ako.
Yeah.
Pagkagising ko wala na, hindi ko na naalala.
Yun. Tama.
Merong dreams din na talagang naalala mo if ever pagkagising mo, sobrang
Yeah.
vivid nung dream.
Mm.
Talagang tandang-tanda mo siya. Minsan nga parang yung pag nakakatakot, niisip ko parang ang gandang horror film yung
You know, the
oo.
thing about dreams, because they're, for me, like sometimes it's like at some point, it's like the divine opening another
Mm.
world to us in a sense na these are like messages. And
Mm.
that's what I say na you need to have like discernment for these kinds of things because not everything has meaning. But
Oo.
there are certain dreams talaga that when you wake up, you know there's something to it. 'Di ba?
Mm.
They're just really dreams that you know like, oh, okay, there's really something about this and I have to like really reflect and think what this means or it could be applicable to you
Mm.
or for the person that you dreamt about or for a certain circumstance. Kaya ayun, so there's a discernment is necessary and
Mm.
for definitely for these kinds. Kaya yan sinabi ko na like sometimes they are messages because yung sinasabi nila na I heard this, I just heard this somewhere na like if God can't get you in the day, he'll get you in the night. And like that's not a threat, but it's like if that's like there's probably a message there.
Mm. Actually, meron din akong one time na
Mm.
naginip ako tapos parang sinulat ko yung dream ko na yon. Then syempre pagkagising talaga, sinearch ko yung meaning. And
Mm.
yung mali ko nga kasi 'di ba usually pagka sa atin, kunwari
Yeah.
pag negative yung meaning ng dream, pipiliin natin, hanapin natin sa Google yung talaga, ito mukhang okay ito na lang
Yes,
yung
correct. That's good to
ito na lang yung
affirm you.
interpretation niya. Ayaw mo tanggapin na ito yun kasi kahit
Ano
yun
yan?
yung lahat ng lumalabas. Ayaw mo tanggapin. Sabi, baka kasi ito yun. Parang, ganun lagi. Baka ito yun, swerte ako this week, mga ganyan.
Ah,
Tapos one time, parang ilang months ba yun, parang tsaka ko lang siya ulit naalala. Tapos parang nagkatotoo yung dream ko na yun, na
oh wow.
symbolical.
Yeah.
So sabi ko, oo nga, negative siya. Ayoko lang talaga tanggapin. Kasi parang, hindi ako
Mm.
naniniwala mangyayari kasi.
Mm.
So, ayun, parang, minsan ayoko na nga din tignan eh. yung,
Ah,
yung mga dream interpretation no, na parang,
mm,
meron din, one time din yung parang malaking wave, dati pa yun eh.
mm,
Sobrang tidal wave yata yun.
mm.
Tapos, parang nag-crash sa akin.
Yeah. Oh,
Yun nga,
okay.
parang, ang nakita kong meaning doon is malaking problem yata yun na
Mm,
mangyayari sa akin.
yeah.
So, yung nag-crash siya sa akin, hindi ako nag-struggle ng matagal. Parang,
Okay.
nung nandun ako sa tubig, parang as if parang nagfo-float lang ako ng naturally. Nakakahinga pa nga ako
Mm,
eh. Uh,
really?
sa
How did
umpisa
you
lang,
feel like
yung
when you were
umpisa natakot
floating?
ako kasi parang ang laki nun eh. Ang
Mm,
laki nung wave eh. Parang
mm,
malulunod agad ako. Siyempre,
yeah.
nag-crash siya. So, yung initial, siyempre, yung initial reaction ng self mo is yung magpanic ka.
Right.
Tapos nung nandun na ako sa parang tubig na,
Mm,
parang lahat na nasa tubig, wala lang, parang state of calmness and parang
right.
nakakahinga ako. Parang naging,
Mm.
calm din yung water. Then tapos after na
Oh.
nawala din yung tubig. Parang ganun.
Mm.
Then yun nga, parang ang nakita kong meaning doon is yung una no, nung sinearch ko is
Yeah.
may malaking problem na darating
Mm.
sa akin. Then parang ilang months yata o years yata yung dumating.
Mm.
Yun nga meron talaga. Ayun nga. Pero after a
Mm.
while, yun nga parang na-figure out ko yung gagawin
Mm.
ko. Ayun, parang
Yeah.
may ano ka ba doon? May mga na
I think so. I think usually, like when somebody shares them,
mm,
somebody shares their dreams to me, like I would probe, I would ask questions, of
mm,
course, like kahit like ultimo, like was it black and white, was it
oo.
colorful, may mga
Oh.
ganon, like what was your emotion in the dream, what was it like, eerie, was it like wala lang feel, what was the certain, like colors, or
Mm,
you like, even like you're riding a jeep, a car, a bike, like these
mm,
kinds of things, because they evoke a certain meaning, especially if if the dreamer really feels like there's something to it.
mm.
So meron talagang ganon. And I think like siguro yung sinabi mo din, like for that specific dream, so of course, obviously, like if it's like a tsunami ba yun, or like just like a tidal wave, like
Parang tidal wave siya na ano eh. Basta ang laki talaga eh. Parang kita ko
yeah.
yung mga houses eh. Talagang nagano
Oh,
din eh.
okay. Yeah. And I think like based off, and usually kasi I'll enjoy like when you receive a dream, sometimes
Mm,
the dreamer would know what it means. Like they have that certain knowing when they wake up na like this is probably what it means. So
mm,
parang may ganun lang. Parang
mm,
immediately there's that kind of quote unquote knowing that you understood what it meant. So like, but I think siguro partly what I got gleaned from what you said sa sinabi mo, like, 'di ba, initially you were afraid because it was too big and it crashed on
mm,
you. But then eventually, like, you were just like floating and it was just calm. It means that you were able actually to handle it.
mm,
Like you were probably expecting the like, oh, okay, kaya ko pala. So there's that, I guess, like you have that level of tenacity in
mm,
you. Like when pressure comes, when push comes to shove, that you can actually quote unquote thread on the
mm,
water. Kayang mag-float. But it's not like you're struggling. It's like it's like this has happened before. And at some point, like when you come to that point, like I even if it looks that big, but when it crashes on you, okay. And then eventually
mm,
wala lang siya. But you were able to nakaya mo rin. Nakaya
mm,
mo siya. So and then like fast forward when it really did come true, like you were able to like battle that and overcome it. But I think because hindi ka naman nagpanic, 'di ba? In your
Noong una
dream.
lang, yung una lang yung
Una lang,
pagka-initial
right? Like
crash na ano.
initial crash. But when it when it crashed and ito, kumbaga tapos na,
Mm,
and then like the aftermath of it all, like you were just able to handle it well, I guess.
mm.
Maybe of
May,
course it's the challenge to that because
mm,
but you were floating and you were threading in the water. So
mm. May mga dreams ka ba na parang ganun? May mga na-realize ka
mm,
na? Or if ever, kung gusto mo i-share, ganun.
let me think. na like may certain ano.
Na realization ka or yung ano, kaya yun yung napanaginipan mo or ganun.
Okay, okay, okay. Siguro this one like is a bit funny, but it changed my
Mm.
perspective. No, I mean I don't want to go into like political, but this one is really
Oo.
distinct. Kasi it was the time na tumatakbo si Duterte,
Oo.
president. Oh, but okay, I don't wanna.
Go lang, go lang.
Yeah, okay. So that time, of course, like, cause I'm not really like I'm not in favor of his like political ano
Mm.
alignments. So I
Mm.
don't really like follow that. But so in the dream, the situation was, ayun din, like parang kakatapos lang ng isang delubyo. I think it was in Metro Manila kasi there was the knowing, di ba, like when you dream, like you just know where you are. So
Mm.
that was in Manila and then kakatapos lang ng parang, I think there was this like big flood kasi basta everything was wet.
Mm.
Then maraming rescue operations, maraming nire-rescue. And then there were a lot of like, but it was like the aftermath of a big flood. Parang malaking delubyo sa Manila. Then, ako din, I looked at myself and I was wet too. So, naghanap ako ng masasakyan because there were a lot of like, parang mga multi-cabs, alam mo yun.
Oo.
And then, um, at the time, sumakay ako sa isang multi-cab and lo and behold, yung katabi ko, si Duterte.
Si Duterte.
Tapos, in your mind, like, as much as possible, of course, like, you want to respect talaga. That's the thing. I think, my mindset is like, whatever, you still want to respect them despite the
Mm.
political affiliations or their beliefs. And then, yung sinabi lang niya sa akin, which kind of like really a bit shocked me because I didn't expect that he would strike a conversation. Kasi magkatabi ka kami.
Ah.
Nagulat ako, katabi ko siya. Yung sinabi niya lang sa akin, do you know how hard it is to become president?
Oh. Hindi
Ayun.
pa siya panalo nun,
Di
no?
ba?
Oo.
And so, ayun. So, pagising ko, I was like, okay. So I think siguro like not so much with
Oo.
him being president, but I guess it's like the position and the responsibility of the role. Whoever is like seated as president or vice president, any probably political position.
Mm.
It's more of like it's easy for people to throw their opinions or to throw shade,
Mm.
but it's like the weight real weight of the job.
Mm.
It's like you're not in their shoes. So okay, maybe like we can definitely have our own opinions. But like that statement kind of like stuck with me. Na
Mm.
do you know how hard it is to become president? So probably even if hindi siya yung nagsalita, even if it was another person, that line
Mm.
would still stick with me. I
Oo.
think not, yeah. Na like the weight and the gravity of the specific position that they're entering into is definitely a challenge. So
Mm.
kaya ayun. That's kind of like that dream like shifted my perspective in that.
Nakakatawa yung si Duterte.
Kaya nga eh.
bigla, bigla na katabi.
All the
Actually, may
people
mga
yun.
ganun eh. May mga ganung dreams talaga eh, no?
Oh.
Na funny, na hindi mo akalain. Doon nga yung pumasok yung isang, ano eh, parang theory nga na,
Yeah.
yung parang kada, ano, yung sa multiverse daw, parang kada self mo is parang baka ganun yung nangyayari. Yung shared consciousness nyo, nakikita mo yung visions. Parang, wala lang, parang isang ano lang din yung theory. Kasi ang weird eh, minsan naisip ko parang nagiging action star ako, ganun. Baka sa ibang mundo ganun ako, parang iba din eh, diba?
No, sometimes I get that dream like parang na lumilipad ka or like you can scale a wall
Oo.
or like you have this like supernatural abilities that otherwise you can't do when you're normal.
Oo. Inisip ko baka may ganun eh, parang baka ganun may parallel universe na ganun yung personality ko, ganun. And yun nga yung parang, di ba may mga pamahiin dati yung parang sa ngipin, pag natanggal, at kakagat ka agad sa kahoy. Na ano mo ba yun? Yung ganong pamahiin?
No, hindi ko na narinig yun. But I definitely have heard of people dreaming that their teeth are falling out. Diba?
Oo.
May ganun.
May mga
So,
ganon.
May aspect no na like, so sometimes, okay, like when you talk about teeth, sa dream siguro na context. I'm not saying this is like this is the general interpretation, but for some, like, 'cause it's related to your wisdom and the decision that you make. Kasi diba we have wisdom tooth,
Oo.
even when like some of it. So it's kind of like connected to that. And like when it falls out, there's like, oh, okay, you have to rethink like a certain
Oh.
aspect of like maybe a decision that you're about to make or that you've already made. So maybe kailangan na like, oh, I have to review, like if you're about to make a certain decision or like you're thinking about doing something or like certain circumstances na like kung nalaglag yung ngipin na like, di ba, pangit yun pagising mo like, oh my God, buo ba yung ngipin ko?
Yun
But
nga
there's
eh.
probably like a disconnect somewhere in your decision making. I'm not saying it's like
Oo.
generally. I'm just saying like for some contextual. May ganon. It's connected to that.
Tsaka yung mga dreams na yung bigla ka malalagla, yung nahuhulog ka, di ba parang ganun. May mga dream.
Yeah.
Pero wala akong dream na yung parang nalaglag tapos nagigising agad ako pagka di ba? Hindi siya
correct.
tumutuloy eh. Parang,
Reflex.
oo, hindi siya tumutuloy.
Oh, may ganon.
Yung mga ganun di ba? Ang galing.
So yun like sometimes like you would just you have to ask like for for certain dreams like ano black and white ba or is it colored? Does it evoke like a certain kind of feeling? Happy ka ba sa dream mo? Or is it were you scared? Kasi that's the emotions are important. Or the words that you've said because meron talaga yun like sometimes like there are words that are being said in the dreams and when you wake up. I remember dreaming I remember one dream that I had na yung cousin ko, he was rapping something. Like there was a melody na naririnig ko. But
Wow.
and then he was rapping something. And then pagising mo syempre like you could try to remember it, but of course like hindi mo na ma-recreate yon because that was only but it was so cool in the dream. May ganun lang.
Tapos meron yung mga panaginip na parang ang ganda-ganda tapos bigla kang gigisingin. Tapos
Ayun,
parang
exactly.
pagbabalik ka, hindi mo na babalik yung gusto
Now
mong
you wish.
panaginip, di ba?
You wish
Ganun.
talaga na
Yung mga ganun
you're back at that.
Pero
And yung
may ganun, di
Go
ba?
ahead.
Oo. Sige, go ahead. Ano?
like also like yung mga vehicle dreams, like certain dreams, like let's say you're riding a bike or a motorcycle or a skateboard. So I'm not again like disclaimer. I'm not saying that this is really the meaning of it, but contextually, pa rin you check. Like sometimes, like you find yourself you're riding a bike. Usually, it depicts like it's really just your own personal journey kasi wala kang kasama. You're in control of that whole thing. You're riding the bike alone. You're riding a motorcycle alone. Whereas if you're driving a car, it's probably it's either like definitely a part of your journey, a project you're working on. If you're the one driving the car, you're in control, you're driving it, you're the one like leading it. If someone's driving it and you're probably riding on with that person's journey, or you're together in the project or something or doing something together, nasa passenger seat ka, so you're not in control. Lalo na if nasa back seat ka, pasahero ka lang talaga. Or
ikaw
if
yung
it's
natutulog lang.
may ganon. So it depends. Kasi like, you've had dreams, of course, and like you're driving a car, you're very skilled at it. Ibig sabihin na like you're doing something in your journey now that you're pretty good at or like you're really na magaling ka. Whereas like in real life, di ka naman talaga magaling mamaneho. But that just metaphorically the dream that you're pretty good at that. Whereas if you're in a bus together with other people, so it's probably like a big, I don't know, like a big thing that you're a part of. So may mga ganon. So
Meron
like
din mga dreams yung parang agitated kayo yung talagang parang gusto lumaban dun sa kunwari may nambubuli or something, mga ganun eh. Tapos yung parang yung feeling mo din sa sarili mo talagang galit na galit ka or di ba parang paggising mo ba't
Ganun
kaya
din.
ganun? Oo.
Yeah. And when there are dreams then na like, di ba, na very heavy yung emotion, na like it's very sad, like umiiyak ka, and when you wake up, you still find yourself in tears.
Oo.
Yeah.
May ganun talaga. Minsan magugulat ka pag gising mo may parang luha ka eh.
Yeah. So
Iba
there's
din
like
yun eh.
some people would say na like you were really in it. Na like talagang you felt that emotion when you were there and like you carried it when you woke up. So that was kind of like a bit that sensation ba? It's like real.
Actually, meron ako isang panaginip nun dati, parang nasa restaurant ako tapos yung parang
Mm.
server or yung may kasama ko doon parang pinapahiya ako, yung tinapunan ako ng pasta,
Oh,
ganyan.
no. Yeah.
Tapos, after nun, naalimpungatan ako, nagising ako. Tapos pagbalik ko ulit, parang,
Bumalik ka sa panaginip.
oo, bumalik ulit,
Okay.
nagising ako. Tapos pagbalik ko ulit, andun ulit sila. Tapos ang nangyari, naging mayaman ako. Kasi
Wow, the comeback.
parang ano, hindi mo ba kilala yung tinapunan mo? Parang,
Okay. So, may ka, may script kang ganon sa
oo, parang,
dream.
hindi ko alam kung nakontrol ko siya or
Oh.
parang
Okay.
pagdating doon na kinonfront ko yung mga server, parang pinahiya ko din sila na hindi ako normal na tao. Parang
Oh,
na marami
okay.
akong
Ayun.
ganyan, assets. Mga. Pero hindi ko naman inano, parang ba't ganyan kabastos ka parang mga ganun.
Mm.
Natatawa lang ako doon.
Talaga, bumalik ka talaga. May part 2 pala.
Oo,
Na mahirap nun. Sometimes, like, kasi like, hindi mo na mabalikan usually eh.
oo,
But that's interesting.
usually. Parang yung mga rare moments na ganun, parang hindi ko alam kung iniisip ko na lang yun, pero parang sa body ko kasi tulog ako eh.
Yeah.
Tulog pa ako nun eh.
Oo.
Tapos magigising na lang ako late na, mga ganun. Late na, mga 10
You got
o'clock
to say
na.
what you wanted to say.
Yun nga eh, nabibigyan ko ng script yung character ko.
Oo. That's
Ewan ko.
interesting. No,
Mm-mm.
but did you feel that kind of like anger like in the
Yung
first
una,
part of the
yung
dream?
first part.
Mm.
First part talaga. Na, wala naman akong ginagawa sa kanya, tapos bigla lang siyang nan-trip na gano'n. Tapos,
Mm.
na-annoy lang ako. Tapos parang, yun.
Yeah. But did you have that kind of like real experience na
Wala
somebody really
naman,
did
wala
that to you?
naman.
Okay.
Tapos pinatanggal ko siya sa trabaho.
Biglang ikaw na yung siguro may-ari ng...
Yung part 2 na.
Okay.
Ewan ko bakit ganun eh. Parang, wala lang. Hindi ko gets yun eh. Parang, siguro funny, ano lang siya na.
Or maybe like really that's probably like yung the real subconscious you would have
Oo.
wanted to really get back.
Oo nga eh. Kahit ayoko.
Um,
Kahit ayoko mag-cause ng scene na ganun. Pero,
Yeah.
siguro naramdaman ko yung power nung parang may power
Mm.
ako na. Tsaka wala naman akong ginagawa eh sa kanya. Parang, bakit
Exactly.
mo gagawin yun?
So you felt that like injustice
Mm-mm.
kind of na they shamed you and they bullied you and then so you wanted to express yourself na tapos tinatanggal mo pa sa trabaho.
Actually, may mga 3 instance yun eh. Yung isa sa school pa eh. Parang ganun eh. Basta madami eh.
Okay.
May mga ganun. Iba-iba eh. Iba-ibang character din yung nambubuli. Hindi lang siya. Iba-iba.
Okay. You're talking about a consistent theme in your dreams.
Hindi na,
Or you
parang
mean in real life?
tries pa lang siyang nangyari na sa dreams na ganun.
Sa dreams.
Oo,
Okay.
tries pa lang siya.
May ganon. And then this was the only dream that you had na
Hindi,
talagang you're able to speak out or
meron
hindi
yung sa school din
Ah.
eh. Meron din. Yung sa school din. Parang,
okay.
ano nga ba nangyari nun? Basta nakapag-comeback din ako dun sa school.
Talaga?
Iba din
Okay.
yung more
But in
on-
real life, would you really do it?
Hindi,
Like, would you
hindi.
have that courage to speak out, speak your mind, like in
Pero
that
hindi
setting?
ganun ka-harsh. Just parang sobrang siguro casual lang na yung parang hindi ko siya papansinin or bakit ako mababother ko.
Right,
Kung
right.
kung ganun yung ginawa niya na kahit may power or may possession ako, hindi naman ako manggaganon dahil lang may ganun akong power or ganun. Wala lang,
Yeah.
parang siguro dahil nga lang dun sa dun sa situation. Parang nagpa-power trip lang din ako dun sa dream. Ewan ko, siguro dahil dun sa mga teleseryen dati nung mga,
You know, sometimes that's yun yung sinasabi ko. But
yung
I think in this
subconscious
in this context, yeah, probably like your subconscious, like, this is what you really wanted to say, but only in your dreams that you're able to have that courage to speak up. So nagkaroon ka ng platform to express yourself in that avenue. Pero yun nga din sinasabi ko, you know, it really holds true. No, this one that the eyes are the windows to our soul. So kaya if you really want to influence your dream life, in a sense, I'm not saying that all the time you can influence it. I'm just saying that you have to ask yourself, what are you watching? What are you listening to? So it's really in what you behold
like it registers in your mind. So what our eyes really like are looking at, it will really influence like the things sometimes in our dreams. So talagang it's a big factor. So if I, let's say I had like I rarely had I have a bad dream, but if I do have like a dream that's really ugly or ano, I check. Ano bang pinanood ko the past few days?
Oo.
Like what did I look at or what did I listen to that kind of like registered, you know? So may ganun lang.
Lalo pag nagbabasa din ako bago matulog. Yun
Yes.
usually yung nagiging panaginip ko eh. Lalo yung kunwari yung zombie apocalypse, parang nagbasa ako ng book. Kasi yun yung
Masaya
papanaginip.
nun.
Oo. Buti nga lagi ako survivor. Pero kung in real
Baka
life
subok din na
siguro
mabasa
baka.
mo survive ng survive.
Oo. Pag sa in real life parang ang hirap eh. Hirap i-execute ng
Yeah.
ganun. Pero ang cool
Oo.
kasi nun eh. Parang ganun. Ganun yung nangyayari usually.
Mm-mm.
Kaya minsan
Yeah.
di ako nanonood ng horror na bago matulog para chill lang ako.
Oh, I'm not
Sila.
really fond of
Oo.
watching horror.
Mahilig ka sa horror talaga.
No, I'm not fond.
Akala.
No, no, I don't.
Medyo ano. Dati mahilig ako nung bata. Bata ako. Kasi yun yung parang tradition namin ng magpipinsan. Over the weekend, magre-rent kami ng DVD or CD.
Yeah.
Kahit anong nakakatakot dyan. Tas, yun.
Talaga.
Pero dati talaga traumatized ako kasi hindi ako nakakatulog nung bata. Tapos siguro nasanay na lang kasi laging yun yung nangyayari. Yun yung tradition namin. Exposed ako sa ganong ganong scene. So parang sige, pag nanood kami horror minsan, wala na sa akin. Hindi na ako natatakot. Ganyan na naman yung plot. Ganun na lang sa.
It's like sometimes no, like it's the same plot over and over.
Ganun na lang. Tapos kaya yun, parang bihira din ako matakot sa movies pero pag sa iba naman, iba rin yung kwento or mga iba din.
Right. Of course. Oo. Kaya ayun. So, the eyes are the windows to our soul, so we have to watch what we're looking at or beholding if, you know, because it affects our dream life. Yeah.
So yun, thank you G, and anything you want to promote yung mga drawing mo sa buhay, baka gusto mong kulayan if ever.
Drawing ko sa buhay.
Yan.
So I maybe like if you're curious about the weavings that I do or the macrame, you can check out Manos Philippines at Instagram. That's the handle. Yun. So you can check it out. And of course, like you can just follow me, I guess, in Twitter. It's It's G. But it's at Jian Lea. Jinlea.
Ayun. And ilalagay ko lahat ng nasa description nung episode, and feel free to follow G. Sobrang ganda nung pieces niya kung titignan nyo.
Thank you.
And yung mga spoken word NFT niya nandun din. So
Yes.
please do check out yun kasi heartfelt yung talagang kahit pakinggan nyo lang, ang ganda.
Salamat.
I-check nyo. Pero kung talagang bilhin nyo na. Yeah.
So there's still one in foundation and I have a few in object.com.
Ayan. So yun, and thank you G for sharing talaga. Sobrang ang ganda na naman ng episode kasi parang nakatuwa ulit makipagkwentuhan sa mga ganitong bagay, and iba-ibang aspect ng art, pati dreams, pati yung sa spoken word.
Yes.
Ayan.
Thank you din Aling Joy. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to guest in your podcast. Mabuhay ka, Aling Joy.
Salamat. For more updates and exclusive content, please feel free to follow Di Na To Drawing Podcast on Facebook, IG, Twitter, and Spotify. So feel free to listen. So sana kung makikinig kayo is please rate the show 5 stars, so para mas marami tayong ma-reach na tao and mapakinggan yung mga stories ng mga guest natin, yung mga drawing nila sa buhay. So yun, thank you G again for guesting.
Thank you so much.